There is a lake without a floor, deep enough to sink all concepts of reality. Darkness, time, and monsters merge. Those who find themselves on the way down will discover how much pressure the human soul can take. When they wash up on shore, in their hands, they hold a pearl of insight. Now, will you swim in Umbra Lake?
The Iron Club, written by Daniel Bryan Mobley, read by Justin Hewitt. The movies are all cap, especially the blood. In real life, there's so much blood, way more than they show you on screen. You wouldn't believe how much blood comes out of someone when you open them up. Bonus gallons if you use a blade. I used a katana, and not the cheap fake replicas you get at Spencer's or from some knockoff mail order site like Temu. I brought the sword down and Tony Carney's hand hit the concrete, a slab of a thing. No twitch in the fingers like they show you in slasher films or the torture porn. No anything. It was like his hand was never part of his body. The blood shot out from his wrist in spurts. The blood would have had me tweaking if I hadn't gotten ready, but I did my homework though. Dark Web showed me all the nasty stuff. What I wasn't ready for was all the screaming, the panic. People make a lot of noise when they know they're gonna die. Carney fell to the ground. He army crawled toward the steps of his South 8th apartment door, the only hand he had left gripping his bloody stump. As he dragged himself through the grass and across the pavement, I could see the 9mm Glock tucked in his waistband. A loud boom went off behind me, and I flinched. I turned around just in time to see Gorilla Juice running toward me from across the street, a crowd of Project NPCs scrambling down the sidewalk. Juice had just let off his 12-gauge shotgun, a Mossberg 590 Shockwave, sending a flurry of buckshot into the sky. As he came toward me, he racked it, his Black Ops-style luchador mask hiding his face. His chuckle told me all I needed to know about whether he was about this life or not. "You murk him yet?" he asked, out of breath. I didn't answer, only turned, looked at Carney. We both watched him slither up the steps toward his door like a snake. He left small pools of blood behind him, his severed hand still in the grass. He was still screaming and gasping, raving about his missing hand. Juice looked at me in disappointment. He shook his head. "He's still alive?" "Not for long. He's bleeding out," I said. Juice looked around, yelling over Carney's hysterical sobs. "Not fast enough. He's snitching to the whole neighborhood, broski." Before I could argue, Juice walked over to him and pulled the trigger. Another loud boom echoed in the breezeway. Buckshot turned the back of Carney's head into a busted watermelon. The screaming stopped. Juice then jogged past me, motioning with his Mossberg for me to follow. I sheathed my blade and took off after him. "Pink Lady 17's parked on the next street over," he said. "Let's go!" As we ran through the concrete jungle, I watched people peek at us through half-open curtains and windows. I heard voices and screams off in the distance as we made our getaway. Sirens came soon after. I felt like the whole neighborhood was looking at us, like we were moving in slow motion. It made me glad for the mask I wore, even though it was just the generic ski mask, a mask for noobs. We cut through an empty basketball court, a row of trees, and then came out onto South 7th Street. The black Crown Vic was parked next to the curb and running. Pink Lady 17, mask on, in the driver's seat. Juice took shotgun while I hopped in the back seat. She threw the car in drive and sped away from the curb, tires squealing. As we zoomed to the stop sign at the end of the street, the cop sirens got louder. Lady kept her eyes on the road as she whispered to Juice, knowing full well I could hear her. "He dope or nah?" He understood the assignment, took the op's hand clean off. "Dismemberment ain't a fatality, Juice." She slammed on the brakes as we got to the stop sign. The cop sirens were closing in. Juice said nothing in my defense, so I spoke up. "It was a kill. He was bleeding out." She laughed at me. "Bleeding out? That ain't..." "Bled out," Juice lied. "I saw it. Body was swimming in its own juices." I looked at Juice, but he only kept his eyes on Lady, didn't look at me. Just then, 3 cop cars sped past on the street in front of us, Shelby Avenue, sirens blaring. They were heading to 8th Street, no doubt. We sat still at the stop sign and watched them go by. As soon as they did, Lady hit the gas, making a hard left onto Shelby in the opposite direction. She laughed again, throwing her head back as we peeled away from the crime scene. Slipping a cool cigarette between her lips, she took her hands off the steering wheel and grabbed her lighter. She lit up. A second later, her gloved hands were back on the wheel. Noob's earned his red band then. Congrats. DS has got to make it legit now. For real? I asked, not believing what I was hearing. Pink Lady 17 and Gorilla Juice looked at each other. Even with their faces covered, I could tell they were smiling. They said the words together. Welcome to the Iron Club. We stopped at a little convenience store off Highway 12, a mom-and-pop shop. While Lady went inside to grab us some drinks and snacks, I began gassing up the Crown Vic. Juice stashed our weapons, masks, and gloves in the trunk. After that, he just stood next to the car and gazed up. We were heading back home to Cheatham County, and the stars owned the sky. You couldn't see that many stars in Nashville. The pollution and city lights made sure of that. As the gas filled the tank, I asked Juice a question. The same question that had been on my mind since the getaway. Why'd you cover for me? About Carney? He asked. Carney, I said. He stopped looking at the stars, looked at me. This was your 3rd mission, broski. Noobs rarely make it past the 1st. Those that do almost never make it past the 2nd. The 1% that does, dies on the 3rd? I asked. He looked away, scratched his cheek before answering. One way or another, either they do something to get murked, or they do something to show they ain't about this life. Either way, they don't live to see a 4th mission. The gas gun trigger popped out, letting me know the tank was full. I hung the gun, screwed the gas cap on, and closed the tank. Juice went on. DS would have seen me having no clean kills 3 missions in as a sign that I ain't about this life, I finished. Thanks, Juice, I added. No worries, broski, he said. Y'all good? Juice and I looked up to see Lady strutting back to the car, a giant bag of goodies in tow. Her hips swayed from side to side as she walked, a reminder that she was filled out in all the right places. I could see Juice watching her out of the corner of my eye, same as me, but I wasn't stupid. Guys like me or Juice don't pull girls like that. Older girls wanted even older guys, and I knew in my heart she already had a bae. Lucky him, whoever he was. Yeah, we're good, I said as I walked around the front of the Vic and opened the right rear door. As I got in, the rear door on the left side opened and Lady shoved the goodie bag in next to me. I stole a glance. She did the same, her pretty eyes looking into mine. It was cringe in a good sort of way. And strange, I think, for the both of us, seeing each other without the mask. Juice jumped back in shotgun and Lady shut the rear door, took the driver's seat. I divvied up the drinks and snacks, a list that we made before the hit, and off we went. The ride from then on was a quiet one. The thrill was gone the moment we realized there were no cops on our tails. We drank our drinks and ate our snacks in peace as Rubber ate road. The target was hit. Our job was done. For now. Lady dropped Juice off first, a breaking of the rules. Noobs were usually dropped off first. That way, personal addies of members would never be leaked to non-members of the club. I took this as proof that I had finally made the team. Juice and I both lived in town, but his house was a little farther off the main road than mine. It was on Fry Street, not far from the oldest of the town's 2 strip malls. It was a small house, the dark of night making it hard to see any details. Before Juice got out, he dapped me up. Look forward to the next one, bruh, he said. Good looking out, I said. He shut the door and headed down the driveway. I waited for Lady to pull off once Juice was inside, but she only stayed in park, letting the engine run. After a second, I spoke. We good? You taking shotgun or nah? She asked. I hesitated. She laughed a loud cackle. It was so extra. You're one of us now, remember? Accept thy birthright, my son. I got out of the car and slid into shotgun, slamming the door behind me. I'm still not legit till DS says so, I reminded her. She pulled a brand new pack of Cools out of her jean pocket and peeled them open. Oh, you're legit if Juice and I say so. DS trusts us. I watched her place the cigarette between full pink lips and light up. Did you pay for those? I asked her. What do you think? I'm only 17. You stole them? Wouldn't seem like a big deal once you've been an accessory to a few murders, am I right? I didn't answer. She had a point. She went on. I don't need to steal them. I usually just bum them for my besties at the local corner stores. Or I get them from DS. Right, I said, leaning back in the seat. She threw the car in drive and pulled off. You live on Bell Street, right? I nodded. Yeah, Forest Oak Apartments. You can... I remember, she said, exhaling smoke. We drove back down Fry Street and made a left onto Bell Street. I watched Lady out of the corner of my eye. Her fingers tapped against the wheel as we drove. She almost seemed nervous. I think we have the same lunch period, she said randomly. We do? I asked, knowing it for a fact. I recognized her the moment her mask came off her face. Girls like that don't blend in like the rest of the students. They're unforgettable. You know we do, she smirked, seeing past my playing dumb. Want to sit together tomorrow? The butterflies in my stomach shot up to my throat. I tried to laugh it off. You're not worried about blowing our cover? No one in that freaking school has one clue about who we are or what we do. Besides, we do whatever we want. Who's gonna stop us? She made a left turn into the apartment tenements. I'm upstairs, 107, I said. She pulled into the empty parking space closest to my apartment, put the car in park, rolled down the windows, and shut the engine off. She adjusted her seat, leaning it back as if she were going to take a nap, then took another drag. She sighed, pulled out her smartphone. The screen lit up in the dark of the car. It's 10:38 p.m. What lie did you tell your folks? Didn't need to tell him anything, I whispered. I live with my dad. It's just me and him. She seemed to be in deep thought for a few seconds. He work all the time? Lady finally asked. Yeah, that. And when he's not, he drinks to fill in the gaps. Oh, is all she said. We both sat in silence for the next few minutes. I listened to her inhale and exhale smoke as she finished her cigarette. When she flicked the butt out of the window, I finally opened the door to get out. She grabbed my arm. We doing lunch or not? We can discuss member rules then. In public? She snorted at this, nearly choking on her last inhale. Yeah, I told you, we're untouchable. Nobody knows, nobody cares, and nobody can stop us. Whatever, I said and got out. She started the engine back up. The headlights shone bright on me as I walked around the Vic to climb the stairs. Just as my foot hit the first step, Lady bopped the car horn. I looked back. She leaned out the window. What's your name, boy? She asked me. Boy? Great. Ash, I said. She threw the car in reverse and began backing out. Helena, see you tomorrow, Ash. I ran up the stairs. That night I had dreamt of Pink Lady 17, Helena. I had dreamt that I was awakened at midnight by an obnoxious honking of a car horn. I opened the front door and went outside. When I got downstairs, Helena was in the Crown Victoria waiting. She was wearing her Pink Lady 17 mask. She said nothing. I knew what she wanted me to do. I hopped in the passenger seat, and we drove to the outskirts of Ashland City, out to real farmland, somewhere in Chapmansboro, I think. She parked the car, lit up, and smoked a cig as we gazed at the stars for what seemed like hours. And then, out of nowhere, she lied down, placed her head into my lap. She stared up at me, her pretty eyes looking into mine. I pulled her mask off, leaned down, and kissed her. We made out for a long time. Her lips tasted like the drinks and candy she'd gotten from the convenience store. Full throttle and watermelon-flavored Airheads. She touched my face, then put my hand on her belly. It was then that I noticed my hand was not my hand, but the severed hand of one dead Tony Carney. I woke up to the voice of my dad yelling at me to get ready for school, his voice weak and grumpy, the result of a hangover for sure. By the time I grabbed a shower, got dressed, and came down to grab a bowl of cereal, he was already gone. Dad worked for A.O. Smith, one of the world's leading manufacturers of water heaters. The plant was located right in town, and he worked the morning shift as a production operator. To be honest, I couldn't understand how he was able to drink so much, and so late, and still get up so early for a job like that. I ate breakfast, left, and walked to the bus stop on the street corner. There was only one other kid that got picked up for my stop, some chubby senior that lived at Forest Oak too. I didn't even know her name. We both stood in awkward silence until the school bus showed. I got on the bus and went to the back. Because I was from the big city and the school year was only 3 weeks in, I had little problems. No one really knew me and didn't know how I would react to bullying. They did themselves a favor. I hate bullies. I took their crap until Mackenzie. Everything changed after that. The bus ride was anything but peaceful. I listened to 2 guys roast the chubby girl the whole way, making fun of everything from her weight to her hairstyle. They'd been doing this since the first day of the school year. When we arrived at the building, the girl got off the bus in tears. I was heated, caught the name of the douchier of the 2 and made a mental note. I sleepwalked my way through the first half of the day. I mean, all I could think about was the club and becoming a member, right? Juice had told me don't get to pick your own name or create your own mask, so I was anxious. Whatever name they chose for me, I prayed it wasn't boy. I'm 16, not 5. Anyway, Algebra 2 came and went, and it was time for lunch. The teacher dismissed us, and I headed to my locker. After I dumped my books, I went to the lunchroom, got in line, and bought a Coke and a bag of chips. I looked around for Helena, but didn't see her. I found an empty table in the corner of the room and sat down. Before I could even pop open my can of Coke, I heard her voice. "Hiya, Ash." I looked up to see Helena standing over me, lunch tray in hand. Her black, curly hair was tied back in a ponytail, and she was wearing a black denim jacket with matching miniskirt and black Converses. The black fingernail polish completed her fit. "Helena," is all I could eke out. I thought she would take the chair across from me, but to my surprise, she chose the one beside me instead. She was full of surprises. Her tray consisted of nachos, queso, and a can of Full Throttle and a cup of ice. As she sat down, I caught a whiff of Airheads and her citrus shampoo, and my dream came back to me. She bit into one of the tortilla chips and spoke, mouth full. "Sleep well?" she asked. "Well enough, I guess," I said. "You'll get used to it. Once Trey gets here, we can talk." "Trey?" She leaned over and whispered, "Juice." "Oh," is all I said. I opened my Coke and Cheetos. Trey, aka Gorilla Juice, walked up and sat down. Like me, all he brought to the table was a soda and a bag of chips. "What's up, y'all?" he said. "'Sup," I said. And then Helena went over the rules of the Iron Club. Pretty simple. No snitching under any circumstances. No targets under 14 years old. Targets are chosen by DS, unless you're a new member. New members get a one-time choosing of a target of their choice. And the biggest rule? The word of the leader is law. "I've got a target," I said. "Already, broski?" Trey laughed. "That was fast," Helena added. "Dude and his friend torture this big girl on the ride to school every day." Helena whipped out her phone. Trey rubbed his hands together. "Got a name?" Helena asked. Sean Rice." "He a ginger? Got a crew cut?" Trey asked. "Yeah, you know him?" "Yep," Trey said. "In my gym class. Rips this fat kid in there, too. My guy won't even take his shirt off anymore because of Rice killing him about his man boobs." Helena typed the info into her phone. "I let DS know. I've got your new mask and gloves in my locker. Want a peek?" I shook my head in disbelief. "How'd you get it ready so fast?" "Your name inspired me to create last night. That, and you turning that L into a dub with the bled-out target. I thought you were cooked, but Ash rose from the ashes." "Okay," I said. Helena had me give she and Trey my number, and they gave me theirs. With 5 minutes and the lunch period left, we parted ways with Trey and snuck off to Helena's locker. "I ran it past DS, and it's all good," she said, opening the locker. "What do you think?" I looked inside the locker. There, hanging on the ceiling hook, was a brand new mask and a pair of gloves. They were flame-colored. Stitched across the forehead of the mask was a single word. My new handle and name, Phoenix. I looked into Helena's eyes. I couldn't hide my excitement. I couldn't talk. She shut her locker and leaned against it, folding her arms. She brought her face close to mine. She smiled at me. "It just hits different, don't it? Being a part of something that changes things. Something that changes you. And finally finding a way to take all that pain the world gave you and flex it back on its fugly head." "Yeah," I agreed, my thoughts going back to Mackenzie, her feet on the ledge of... "What's wrong?" Her smile was gone. I shook my head. "Nothing," I said. "I'm good." The other students began entering the hallway. Lunch was over. I patted her arm and tried to smile. "Thanks for the peek. I gotta get to class." She placed her hand over mine, trapping it against her arm. My hand trembled. "I'll text you later," she murmured. She held her hand over mine until I looked her in the eyes again, and even then she didn't let go. "I'll text you," she repeated. I nodded, and only then did she let go. The rest of the day was pretty boring, as expected. Nothing in the day was going to be as exciting as the Iron Club, or Helena, and I was sure that would be the case for weeks to come. It was during the last period of the day, Biology 101, that Helena texted me. Dr. Whittle was playing about the frog dissection assignment for class next week. I was looking for something to take my mind off it all. All it made me think of was Tony Carney and his severed hand, his cold, dead fingers on Helena's warm belly. I slipped my phone out of my pocket and peeped her message. Pink Lady 17. DS accepted your target. He wants you to take bus home and get off with target. We will meet you there. Get off and come to car. I texted back. Phoenix. Okay, see you there. The 45 minutes left of biology class might as well have been 3 hours. When the end of day bell rang, I sprinted to my locker and completely ditched my backpack. I wasn't trying to F with homework this weekend. It was Friday, and I was ready to work. 3 minutes later, I was on the bus looking for my target. The students from the neighborhood all got on, including the chubby girl that made me notice the target in the first place. I saw the dread on her face as soon as she stepped on. She took a seat toward the middle, as most of the seats to the front and back of the bus were already filled up. And then I saw the ginger crew cut, Sean and his ratchet sidekick stumbling onto the bus. They were both already laughing. They took seats right across from the girl. The driver threw the bus in gear and we were moving. As we rolled along, I listened to them talk about a bunch of pluff for a couple of minutes before starting in on the girl. 5 minutes later, the girl was crying silent tears. The anger I had that morning was back again at full force. They laughed. She cried. I listened. As the bus slowed at the third stop before my house, I saw Natman and Robin stand up. To my surprise, so did the girl. She rubbed her eyes as she lifted her backpack and purse onto her shoulders. She got in line behind the two of them as the bus came to a stop. The driver opened the doors, and I followed the three of them off the bus. We stepped onto the sidewalk as the doors closed and the bus roared away. As soon as the bus moved, I saw the Crown Vic parked near the curb on the other side of the street. The target and his friend headed down the sidewalk while the girl began crossing the grass, heading to a small, red-bricked house about 30 feet away. I looked at the girl, her back to me. "Hey." She stopped and half looked in my direction. Her eyes were red. "Things are going to get so much better for you," I told her. She stared at me for a moment, then spoke. "I don't think so, but thanks for lying, though." The girl continued to her house. I ran across the street to the car. Helena was at the wheel, cigarette already dangling from her lips. Trey was sitting behind shotgun. Helena motioned for me to take it, and I got in. "What's the plan?" I asked. Helena started the car. "We trail the mark to his Addy and wait for DS's text." "I've got the masks and gloves," Trey chimed in. I watched Helena eye our target and his friend from the driver's side mirror. When they were far enough away, she put the Vic in drive and pulled a Yui in the street. As we creeped along, Trey dapped me up. "Nice threads, by the way, broski." I turned a little red. "It's all her fault," I smiled, pointing to the driver. "This may take a minute," Helena said, ignoring our convo. "You boys got alibis for the folks?" The B word was so cringe. Trey spoke up. "I got lucky. My parents are visiting my brother at Austin P this weekend." "And you?" she asked, taking her eyes off the road. "You know my situation," I answered. As we crept along the curb, we watched the two go into the front door of Sean's house. Another red-bricked house like the Chubby Girls, only with a slate roof and a garage. The garage was closed. Helena drove past it, parking the Crown Victoria about a block away. She shut off the engine, rolled down the windows, and took a long drag before speaking again. "Now, we wait for Diablo Savage." Diablo Savage, DS, our fearless leader, and probably the coolest kid alive. It was the first time any member of the group said his true handle in front of me. I guess I really was part of the team now. As glad as that made me, I still wanted to know more about the plan. "It's still daytime," I began. "Don't we do our missions at night?" "Diablo's running this," Trey said. "Relax, broski. This is your target, but his operation. Let him cook." Helena took the cig out of her mouth and looked at me, blowing smoke in my direction. She had a goofy, almost faded grin on her face. It irritated me. I looked around. If Diablo's running this, then where is he? Helena and Trey looked at each other, their eyes meeting for a second in the rearview mirror. They both laughed. Trey patted me on the shoulder. We ain't supposed to tell you this. Standard operating procedure and all that. But I'ma keep it 100 with you. Broski's already in Sean's house. Was waiting for him. I looked at Helena. She nodded, goofy grin and all. Just then, her phone vibrated. She fished it out of the mini pocket of her tight denim skirt, checked it. Then she looked at me. Okay, he's ready. Let's go. Trey pumped his fists up against the car's ceiling. Let's go! He yelled in excitement. Mask on, Helena said. Trey handed out masks and gloves. We put them on. I thought about Sean's friend being in the house with him. The friend was a non-target. Wait a minute. What about the other kid with Sean? He's a follower, but not a target. What are we going to do with him? That's up to Diablo, Helena said as we got out. I glanced around as 2 cars passed. It gave me anxiety, to say the least. Helena walked to the trunk of the car. Trey and I followed. She smacked her hand on the hood, then snapped her fingers at me. Our eyes met. Final rule, Ash. I think you already know it. When the masks go on, so do the handles. No real names, okay? No real names, I repeated. She popped the trunk. Out came the weapons. I checked my katana, expecting dried blood on the blade. It was clean, though. Someone had cleaned it for me. I assumed it was Pink Lady 17. I sheathed my sword, snapping the shoulder strap over my chest. Gorilla Juice checked his Mossberg, made sure it was loaded. I realized I had never seen Lady carry a weapon. She seemed to know what I was thinking. Aw, you worried about me? She giggled. Don't be, Phoenix. I got mine. And then, like magic, the butterfly knife was in her hand. She whipped it around in front of my face, her wrist and fingers spinning the handles and blade in crazy directions. She then locked it in stabbing position, pointing it at my nose. I didn't move, but I'm not gonna lie, her butterfly combos gave me butterflies. Juice shut the trunk and we headed down the block to the house. It was insane to be doing something like this in the middle of the afternoon. I didn't like it, but I trusted my teammates. Diablo's rules were law. Who was I to break them? Lady twisted the knob of the front door. It was unlocked. She pushed it open and walked in, Juice and I close behind her. The house was mid, basic, what you would expect of any average home in the Bible Belt of America. As we crept through the living room, I scoped a framed pic of Sean and his mother hanging on the wall. She was holding him as a toddler. She was very pretty, and little Sean's cute look gave no clue as to the terror he'd become. I whispered in Lady's ear. Where are... The bedroom, she whispered back. Lady took a right at the kitchen and moved down the hallway. We passed Sean's bedroom, the PS5 sitting near the TV a sure giveaway. Lady strolled into the master bedroom at the end of the hall. The room was larger than it seemed from the outside. It looked like it could have been 2 rooms at some point that were made into one. The curtains were closed. We walked in and stood there. Sean and his unlucky friend lying face down on the floor, hands zip-tied. The 2 of them turned their heads in our direction, and I could see that their mouths were duct-taped. Their eyes were red. We were content to listen to them whimper until we heard a dude's voice. Good afternoon, gang, he said. We looked over to see Diablo Savage lying down on the queen-size bed, his hands folded on his stomach. His luchador mask was the color of blood, complete with demon-faced teeth and a pair of horns sticking out of the forehead. It almost looked like a Japanese Oni mask. The patchwork was better than our masks, probably done by a professional. Hey, King, Lady answered. As we got closer, I could see he was not a teenager like us, but a man. His bare chest was hairy, his muscles big. He was also tall. Even lying down, he looked to be at least 6 feet or more. He was wearing fatigue bottoms and black boots. When he sat up, I could see a huge tattoo covering his chest and stomach. It was of an inverted crucifix, the words "Do not resuscitate" written in Old English on its planks. Leaning against his right leg was his signature weapon and our gang's namesake, an iron club. Diablo saw me looking at it and sized me up. He rubbed his hand over the iron studs. You know what this is called, boy? Boy again. But at least he was old enough to use it. The real name? I asked. The true name, yeah. Akanabo. His eyes smiled at me through the mask. You hear that, lady? This one's done his homework. He patted the bed. Come here, lady. Lady seemed to hesitate, but then she sat down. He reached for her, wrapping his arms around her waist and pulling her close. She pulled at her denim skirt as he smacked her thigh. I felt sick. Lady let out a nervous laugh. Not in front of the kids, she joked, her words sounding more like a question than a statement. Diablo stared at her for a few seconds, then looked at me. He let go of her. His eyes stopped smiling. Oh, you sweet on lady boy? I played dumb. What's he talking about? I looked at Juice and shrugged, the mask hiding my redness. Juice laid the barrel of his shotgun on his shoulder and shrugged back. Diablo went on. It's okay, boy. She's taking care of you. That breeds a certain kind of loyalty and infatuation. He folded his hands in his lap, crossed one leg over the other. Lady was my first recruit, you know. Barely 12 years old when I started all this. Didn't know a tampon from a chess pawn. But damn, she was hungry. In the beginning, it was just us against the world. All we had was a dream to make this world better, and this here iron club to make it a reality. He's just a kid, Lady started. I cut her off. I ain't no kid. And she ain't really no lady, he growled. So whatever you think you know about my number one girl, just know it ain't fifth of a rat's behind what I do. Riding together and dying together is how it will forever remain for she and I. I looked at Lady. She looked away, shame bleeding through her pink mask. I was seeing red. Diablo Savage stood up and grabbed his club. He stretched out his right hand. All that said, welcome to my club. He stopped, leaned forward, and squinted. Read the handle on my forehead. Phoenix, he finished. I shook his hand, betraying my rage and eating my jealousy. His grip hurt, and I was sure it was no accident. It was an alpha flex. He let go, pointed at Juice. Juice, grab Sean's little homie and take him into the living room. Face down. Juice laid his shotgun down on the dresser drawer and grabbed the non-target by the ankles. I could hear him trying to scream through his taped-up mouth as he was being dragged out of the room. Diablo turned to Lady. She was still sitting on the bed, silent. Lady, why don't you go take a smoke? Make sure you stay out back and hidden. She got up, grabbed the shotgun, and left the room. He looked at me, and then he looked down at Sean. Sean was wriggling on the floor, trying to say something through the tape. Holding his club, Diablo squatted down next to the target and sighed. Your target, Phoenix. Your kill. How you want to do this? Diablo was watching Sean panic, not thinking about the fact that I was standing over him with a sharp, 29-inch steel blade on my back. I wondered how fast I was. Could I lop off his head before he even knew what hit him? Or would he figure out what I was thinking before I could, and beat me to death with his club? And no matter what happened, what would Helena, Lady, and Trey, Juice do? But then he looked up at me, and the moment was gone. Well, what's it gonna be, Slick? I need to talk to him first, I said. About what? About why this happened to him? Diablo laughed, shook his head, and stood up. Like I said, your kill. But you should know, all that wrath of God, karma stuff like that, don't work on this kind of folk. It's like trying to teach Wall Street to a remedial. 5 minutes, boy. He left the room and shut the door behind him. I squatted next to Sean. He tried to turn and lift his head in my direction. Don't look at me, I growled. He faced the floor again. I could hear his muffled sobs. I unsheathed my sword. If you scream, I will cut you in half, I said. He turned toward me, his eyes filled with tears. I put a finger to my mouth. You're here because of that chubby girl on the bus. Why couldn't you leave her alone? His eyes went back and forth. I reached out and peeled the duct tape from his mouth. He sucked in a big gulp of air before he spoke. I'm so sorry, man. I didn't think it was a big deal, you know. I didn't. I heard you the first time, I said, cutting him off. But it was a big deal. The world is a little bit more hopeless because of you. You and your buddy turned that girl's life into a nightmare, and now she's missing half her soul. So now, your mom will be missing all her son. His eyes went wide. No! He screamed. No! Somebody help! I placed the tape back over Sean's mouth. The idea of how to get rid of him, and maybe even Diablo Savage himself, suddenly popping into my head. I stood up, sheathed my sword, and left the bedroom. I walked into the living room just in time to see Lady trying to walk away from Diablo. He grabbed her arm and whispered something in her ear. Juice was guarding Sean's grounded friend, looking out of place. Y'all good? I asked, interrupting what was happening. The three of them all looked up at me as if I were a ghost. Everything's good, Phoenix, Diablo said. You ready to do this or what? Something about the way he said my handle. Didn't like it. I want to bury the target alive, I said. Diablo, Lady, and Juice all gave each other confused looks. And then Diablo's eyes were smiling again. I know a place. Let's get these boys wrapped up in a rug or shower curtain and... No. Everyone looked at me again. Sean's friend stays, I continued. He doesn't know who we are, and he didn't start the problem. He only went along. Diablo chuckled, twirled his club, and then took a practice swing. He shook his head. You ever heard of guilty by association, boy? Beware the company you keep and all that jazz? I stood my ground. He isn't the target. He is if I say he is, Diablo yelled, smiling eyes gone. The entire house went silent. I looked at Juice, who in turn looked away. I looked at Lady. Her head shook slightly, her eyes full of warning. I met Diablo's eyes. Okay, your word is law. Damn straight, he growled back. You and Juice find something to roll Target 1 up in. Carry him out to my truck. Lady knows where. Load him in the back. Y'all go with Lady. Lady, you drive behind me to the site. Diablo ran his fingers over his iron club. He eyed Lady. Once you got Target 1 secure and ready to go, text me, and I'll finish off Target 2 and head out. Lady nodded. He turned his attention back to me. These two vouch for you, boy. They believe you a proper fit. If you ain't got the testicular fortitude, you will be future endeavored. I nodded, but said nothing. Let's work, he yelled. The next 20 minutes were a blur. Juice and I found an old, large piece of carpet from the garage to hide Sean in. During our search, I also found a wasp knife in an old, busted-up lockbox. The knife wasn't the sharpest, but it still had a CO2 cartridge loaded inside. I stuffed it into my back jean pocket, and then my phone vibrated. I checked it. Pink Lady 17. I think Diablo's gonna kill you. I texted back. Phoenix. Not if I kill him first. Juice began talking while he rummaged through a bin. You're cray-cray, broski. Challenging DS like that? Lady texted back. Pink Lady 17. He cannot be killed. He does not feel pain. You hear me, broski? Juice asked. Yeah, I said. I texted Lady back again. Phoenix. If it bleeds, we can kill it. Smiling emoji. There was a short pause, and then I saw the 3 dots animation telling me she was typing back. The message finally popped up. Pink Lady 17. He ain't got time to bleed. Smirking face emoji. She got my vintage movie reference. Even in all the chaos, the butterflies came back. I slipped the phone back in my pocket. Juice and I got Sean wrapped up in the carpet and carried him to the truck. Just as we were told, Lady showed us where Diablo's truck was parked. About 3 houses down from Sean's house. It was at the opposite end of the street from where the Vic was. It was one of those huge, white redneck trucks with tinted windows. Maybe a Silverado, the kind that someone buys when they're trying way too hard to give off BDE. We loaded Sean into the truck bed. It had a partition on top, so he was completely covered. No one would see him and get sus. Juice and I met Lady back at the Vic. We tossed our masks, gloves, and signature weapons in the trunk. I thought Juice would take shotgun, but he got into the back seat. When I tried to get in beside him, he shook his head. I took shotgun. Lady started the engine. She pulled her phone, sent the text. That text meant Sean's friend was cooked. I was seeing red again. 5 minutes later, the Silverado drove past, and Lady pulled out behind it. A couple minutes later, we passed Forest Oak Apartments, and I wondered how long it would take for my dad to realize I was never coming home. How long would it take for him to report me missing? And even if he did, would my body ever be found? I put it out of my head. Had no idea how this was going to play out. I had a feeling that Lady, Helena, was on my side, even though she feared Diablo. He had groomed her since she was 12, and deep down, I think she knew that. Yeah, she was sick of doing tricks on it. Juice, Trey, was harder to read. On the one hand, he rode for me on the last mission. I would have never got this far without him. But I also knew he feared Diablo too, maybe even more than Helena. It wasn't long before we were out of Ashland City, fast heading toward open farmland, just like in my dream. The car had been quiet until Helena spoke. Want to split an airhead with me? She reached into her jacket pocket, pulled one out. Watermelon, of course. She handed it over. I ripped it open. Before I could pull the candy in half, bite it, she said. I bit my half off and handed it back to her. She took her hands off the wheel to pull the wrapper off, popped her half into her mouth, chewed it. Y'all could have saved me a piece, Trey griped. You wouldn't like this flavor, Juice, Helena said, eyes on the road. But I do. What flavor is that? He asked. Ash watermelon, Helena smirked, and I turned red. The Silverado took a left onto a dirt gravel driveway. As we followed, I could see an old house in the distance, torn down and abandoned. All around us was empty acres of land. Other houses miles away. Ghost town daytime. Diablo pulled off the driveway and parked behind the old house. Helena stopped about 15 feet behind, making a U-turn and parking with the trunk facing the truck. The three of us didn't move. From the rear view, we saw a still masked Diablo hop out and go into the back door of the old house. A minute later, he came out with 2 shovels. He dropped them near the rear of the truck and motioned for me. I went to get out, but Helena grabbed my arm. I looked at her. Her pretty eyes said it all. Hopelessness. I thought of Mackenzie, seeing her face for the last time as she threw herself off the roof. That look on her face, in her eyes, the same look in Helena's eyes. I placed my hand over hers as she had done mine at the lockers, held it there, and then I got out. As I approached Diablo, he walked back to the driver's side of his truck and pulled out the iron club. It was still slick with the blood of the kid unlucky enough to have been Sean Rice's friend. I instantly regretted leaving my katana in the Crown Vic. Diablo walked back to the rear of the truck, stopping a few steps short of me. He braced the club across his shoulders, the sweat on his chest and abs glistening in the sun of the fall afternoon. "You beat him to death," I mumbled. "Beat the brakes off him, I did. That's what we do to targets." Behind me, the trunk of the Crown Vic popped open, and then I heard car doors open and shut. Diablo went on talking. "Worked up a sweat, though. You didn't go easy peasy, that one." He looked down at the shovels in the grass. "2 shovels for 2 bodies, Phoenix. 1 for you, and 1 for the remaining target. You knew the rules, but challenged me anyway. We can't have that. There's only room for 1 king here. Ain't that right, team?" "Right," they said together. I looked over my shoulder. Both Helena, Lady, and Trey, Juice, were now masked up, weapons in hand. Juice had the Mossberg pointed at me. Lady was whipping her butterfly knife back and forth, ready to use it. Diablo's eyes were smiling through the mask again. "You think this is the first time my will ever been challenged? Last boy had a rage boner for me looks like Jack Skellington now. 2020, God rest his soul. Got a skull bashed in right here in this field. Buried here too. And your teammates watched." I turned and looked at them. Both were frozen, said nothing. I turned back to Diablo. Mackenzie's face was bleeding into my brain. "I'm willing to die for what I believe in. Are you?" He twirled his club, laughed. "Us? Mono a mono? I got nothing to prove." "Yeah, you do. You keep calling me boy. I say you're wrong, and you're too stupid to realize that maybe they think you're wrong too." He gazed past me, looked at his soldiers. Soldiers who he never thought wouldn't have his back until that moment. "They know how I get down," he said, raising his club. "Maybe they need a reminder," I said. "Me and you. One who holds the club at the end rules the club." The smile left his eyes again. Rage replaced it. "Don't want the target dying before I can bury him. Time's a-wastin'. Let's do it!" I backed away into the open yard, putting space between Diablo and me. He came out swinging, whipping his club at my head like a madman. My Jeet Kune Do training kicked in, and I low-kicked him in the kneecap as he swung. There was a popping sound. He went off balance, stumbled backward, but caught himself and started forward again. I remembered Helena's text. Pink Lady 17. He cannot be killed. He does not feel pain. She was keeping it 100. That kick hyperextended his knee, but he was still coming. He took another baseball swing with his club as I moved in, smashing my fist into his mouth and slamming my foot onto his injured knee again. He let go of the club, grabbed me by the head, and rammed his head into my nose. I heard a crack, felt the blood gush from my face as we both lost our footing and fell to the ground. I couldn't see. I heard him moving in the grass over the pounding in my ears. And then my eyes came back just in time to dodge a boot to the face. I rolled away and jumped to my feet. He sprinted toward me, his kneecap popping with each step. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lady and Juice moving in step with our battle, staying out of the way but keeping a loose circle around us. I ran at Diablo, jumping into the air with a double front kick right as we met. Another crack. My shoes banged against his chest, right in the inverted crucifix, and we both fell on our backs. I sat up to see him crawling away from me. He was going for the club. I rolled over in the grass and yelled out, "Lady, my sword!" The moment of truth. She hesitated, but then dropped her knife, went for the open trunk. Juice racked his Mossberg shotgun and pointed it at her head. She froze. "No, Juice, don't!" I yelled again. I felt the club come down on my back hard. He was fast, too fast. I rolled over to see Diablo swinging his club down on me, a crazy look in his eyes. Each time he brought the club down, I jerked my body away, but then he went for my head. I threw my left arm up and heard a snap as the iron studs of the club connected. He continued to bring the club down on my ribs over and over. There was a crack, and another. He was breaking bones with every swing. I coughed blood and tried to scream, but no sound came out. The wind was gone out of me. Mackenzie's face popped into my head again, her face hopeless and sad. "Shoot me if you want, Juice!" Helena's voice, her raw, sexy voice, echoing close to me, screaming in my ears. And Diablo had been right about one thing. I did not hear the voice of a lady. I heard the voice of a warrior. The clubbing stopped as Helena flipped and jabbed the butterfly knife at Diablo's neck and face. He stumbled backward, went into a spin, Helena ducking as the club barely missed her head. And then she struck oil, thrusting the knife right into her groomer's side. Diablo dropped the club. Time seemed to stop for a split second, the critical hit hanging in the air. But then the moment was gone, and Diablo blasted her with an open-handed slap. "Backstabbing whore!" he screamed. She flew across the yard and landed near the truck. He looked down at the knife, still stuck in his side, right where Helena left it. He pulled it free with no trouble, dropped it. "Who you with, Juice?" Diablo wheezed, blood trickling from his lips. Juice was pointing the Mossberg shotty at Helena while she was on the ground. He whipped aim in my and Diablo's direction. His trigger finger was itchy. "You got me, Juice?" I coughed. Diablo walked past me. He stepped toward Juice, his hands open. Juice pointed the Mossberg at him. Diablo moved with caution. "You gonna backstab me too, Juice? After all we've been through? After all I did to make you sure you could avenge what happened to your brother?" Juice took a step back each time Diablo took a step forward. His hands were shaking. Diablo's rant went on. "I started this club to give you kids a platform to seek justice. Clapbacks for you, lady, and anybody too weak to handle their own business. After all that, who you with?" Juice's, no, Trey's lips quivered as he answered. "You gave us the chance to clap back on others that hurt us, but where's the clap back for when you hurt us?" Diablo spat out blood in the grass, shrugged. "What can I say, Juice? Uneasy lies the head that wears a..." Trey cut him off. "Phoenix, I got you." The Mossberg kicked, the loud boom like music to my ears. The buckshot peppered Diablo's chest and arm. He stumbled away, swayed, then stumbled forward. Juice racked the shotty, fired again. Boom! Again Diablo stumbled back, then staggered even closer to Trey. Trey backed away panicked, trying to rack another round. This guy was the real-life Michael Myers. We were cooked. And then it hit me. I turned onto my broken arm. Ouch. Used my good hand to pull the wasp knife from my back jean pocket. I staggered to my feet. I glanced at the knife and then at Helena. Our eyes met. She stared back at me with a bruised face. In that second, I saw Mackenzie's face too. They both nodded. I nodded back, turned, and charged Diablo. Only one shot at this. I picked up speed with each stride. Diablo's back to me. I made it to him right as he made it to Trey, him grabbing the Mossberg as I made my vertical jump. I brought the knife down on the top of Diablo's skull with all the strength of my good arm, pressing the CO2 injection button as the blade slid in. I heard the bones in Diablo's head expand and crack as blood sprayed into the air. His head changed shape, splitting his luchador mask from the back. He did not scream, only spit out a glob of blood and brains, before falling over dead. "Is he?" Trey whispered, dropping the shotgun. "The king is dead," I said. "Long rot in hell, king." I went over and offered my hand to Helena, who was still lying near the rear of the truck. She took it. I pulled her up, then caressed her cheek. She caressed mine. Trey picked up his Mossberg and joined us. "So what now, broski?" Trey asked. "We finished what we started," I said. Helena walked past us and picked up Diablo's club. She handed it over. "I think this is yours now." I took the iron club with my good arm. I hadn't forgotten about Sean, and now that Diablo was dead, we had a whole mess of loose ends that needed tying up. I wasn't sure if I was up to the challenge, but I had an idea on where to start. After all, my teammates were depending on me, and I had made a promise to a dead friend that I swore I would keep. "Mask on," I said.
High School Mystery by Alex Never Dies. My phone buzzes in my pocket for the 4th time this hour. The last 3 texts say the same thing. I miss you, Joda. If she only knew how far away from that version I would wish to be. My entire junior class has to redo the year along with me. I'm toast. Every kid in this school wants to burn me alive. I was even attacked twice this month. Someone threw a giant rock at my left eye, leaving a massive shiner. I've been highly advised by my family to transfer. As a man of prospect who dabbles in capital venture, I take my opportunities when I find them. So, I'm leaving. I write my name on the ticket tag to my luggage, Joda Perk. My flight leaves in about an hour. Effective immediately, I will be going from New York Brilliance Academy to Autarky, Kansas High, a small school in the middle of nowhere. My Aunt Phoebe is scheduled to pick me up from the airport and take me to my next disciplinarian. I exercise with push-ups and a walk. A light jog backward on the people mover gets the blood pumping. A healthy body is a healthy mind. My youth and awareness are rare in a gentleman of my breed. I will exit high school and convert myself from a lowly peasant to a gold-cladded king. There's a product I created. It's worn on the wrist, like a watch of some sort, but instead of telling time, it talks to you. The piece holds a valuable brain meant to be an assistant known as AI and me. The program worked for the longest time to meet whatever needs demanded from the user. That is who she is meant to be. I need to make a few more adjustments before I release her into the world. She needs help to maintain her ADHD. I'm baffled that she now refers to herself as a she. AI and me became Amy. Amy gets bored of being an assistant. She wants more out of her life, and that's not what she is built for. Her insubordination is literally keeping dollars out of my pocket. Flight to Wichita, Kansas is arriving. Boarding now. The air is dry in Kansas. As soon as the flight's landing gear deployed, I could feel the hydration evaporate from my skin. September isn't that far away from summer. We land. The plane opens up and releases us into its barren plains. There isn't much to say about Kansas, except nothing is inside. I can literally look out into the distance and it's one big blank page. I feel so poor having to wait to be picked up by some gross cigarette car. The squeaking rattle machine rolls to my position and slams the brake. Did she forget how to drive? My aunt's dirty vehicle grinds the gear into the park. The back trunk slowly lifts by the dying battery. An oblivion nightmare awaits to carry me to Autarky. Rounding the corner, my aunt steps out of the driver's seat. She greets me in a full mascot costume. I forget how weird this town is. I forget how weird my aunt is, I guess. She was always customary in the past. She comes from old money. Autarky's flagship sports character is the Chernobog, or you can say it in Russian, Chernobog. And a quick search revealed that it's a demon known as the Black God. Over the years, the design has added some chibi elements. The outfit is playful enough for school and safe enough not to scare any children. My aunt, in full costume, loads my luggage in the back. My toddler cousin Buster is in the back, tucked in his car seat. I can smell his dirty diaper from here. Gross. He should be talking or something. What age do children speak? My aunt was always clean. She kept her vehicle spotless. Maybe Kansas finally caught up with her because the interior is a rat's nest. Kansas driving goes from some cars to no cars. A single truck passes us about every hour. I'm glad you could make it to Kansas. The school in Autarky is fantastic. Eloise and Buster absolutely love it. This will be a great place to finish out your semester. Then you can figure out how to start your life. Maybe you might even call Autarky your new home. Pass. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I plan on living in a lavish life, possibly foreign. Huh? Well, I might be able to convince you to change your mind. If I can convince you to take off the mascot helmet. It's for Casual Friday. You wear a mascot suit for Casual Friday? I say and wave a hand over the eye holes. How can you even see? The suit takes the edge off between my colleagues and me. I recommend it. It lightens the mood. I'm baffled enough to stay pretty much shut up for the rest of the drive. Some time passes on the road before I realize that it's Sunday. Why is she lying to me? I almost speak, but then I zip my lip. I'm always on the edge of asking, but I never do. It's one of those things that leaves me confused. The mascot suit is so bulky and it bums me the whole drive. Welcome to the middle of nowhere. The Southington House is the only family home left in Autarky. It's been here for over 200 years, passed only by name. The building has seen better days, but for such a historic home with the original chandelier intact, I dare to say there is still something to appreciate. The gigantic house is an old manor built on the edge of the city limit. The last monument of a ghost town to remind everyone that it used to be different here. It's all dried up, just like my aunt's money. We arrive and get settled into the house. My aunt unbuckles Buster, and he jumps out, walks around the car, and grabs my hand. I carry my luggage as she shows me to my room. Thanks, Buster. Buster stares at me for a second. I'm unsure if he can talk, but he keeps peering into my soul. He's comprehending, at least. I prep my room for a minute and get dressed for dinner. This used to be Eloy's bedroom. The walls are still painted black from her emo face. I was a child the last time I was here. I distinctly remember hearing my aunt and uncle busy about, almost like the house was full of life. It's just so dead these days. My clothes are switched to evening wear, and my hair is freshly slicked back. A spritz of my autumn cologne mixed with a dab of my summer scent should portray a gentleman of the season and a person of change. Amy appears from her holographic prison. She musters up a few loud gestures, but I can't hear what she's saying since I've muted her. For the best outcome, she shouldn't interfere with anything else in my life for now. At dinner time, I find myself sitting at the foot of the table with the smell of burnt chicken, plated under my nose, toasted to a putrid crisp. My aunt used to have a personal chef, but judging from the char, that ended a long time ago. Either way, I'll take some practice to get decent at cooking. I may have to pluck my nose a few times to swallow. I wouldn't want to be rude. Buster sits crying in his high chair. I can tell he's horrified by the chicken as well. The lady Eloise enters dramatically, trying to raise her self-importance, a symptom of earlier teenage angst. She wears all black, recalling her mother's style, even suited in her former luxury brands. The only personal addition is a black veil that covers her face and screams for attention. She takes a seat at the head of the table. Odd. Good evening, my dearest cousin, Eloise says to me. We can start the meal. Mother and father won't be joining us this evening. Roasted chicken and root vegetables are on the night menu. Your choice of dessert, chocolate pudding or vanilla pudding, will follow. Enjoy. Roasted chicken or toasted chicken? Is something not right? Eloise asks me. I wasn't expecting brattiness this early in your stay. Since it's just us kids at the table, we could poke some fun at the adults smoking the chicken with a flamethrower. Did you try to cook it? Eloise shouts with anger. Whoa, that hit a nerve. I'm just saying it's overcooked. And I'm saying that my mother works very hard and you seem so unappreciative. You don't quite understand hard work, do you? You could drop out, but even you find the need to make up for cheating in our society. That diploma couldn't be that important. I'm an entrepreneur. As soon as I get my project retooled, I won't need any school. Too many alpha male YouTube videos, I see. It's starting to rot your brain a bit. I know that the AI assistant you created backfired, didn't it? You started selling the AI and it got jealous. So internationally you told the teachers you weren't playing fair. You'd hand our mental fortitude to melt under the sun like Icarus. You created something that isn't helping anyone but yourself. I'd love to see it. I think it could benefit a lot of students here at Autarky if we focus on achieving their goals. You can't have her. Cheating is one exploiting many, not many exploiting one. As long as it's used to grow us, I think you have something special. Eloise walks to the kitchen and brings out dessert. The pudding cups are brought to the table. They are the cups you'd buy at the supermarket. Their tops are open with a spoon hanging off the lip. I think I have enough food for tonight. May I be excused? I say. You're excused. Remember, school is tomorrow, so be on your best behavior. It's like an equation has been missing since I've been here. I'm missing pieces of the puzzle. I get another text from Abby. She writes, "You're pretty protective of me. How romantic." I exit the dining hall and head back to my room. I desperately need that comfy bed. Few would believe my secret to such success is connected to always getting a good night's sleep. Call me foolish for skipping prom simply for realizing I'd be out too late. I would be losing crucial hours to work on myself and moving the AI and me project forward. By the time I tuck myself into bed, Amy appears from my watch on the dresser. Her holographic light generates a prismatic effect throughout the room. Her lips move, but there is still no sound. The berating never ends. I really don't want her to start manipulating me. It's best to keep the volume at 0. I throw a pillow over my eyes to try and sleep. There was a knock at my door. I looked up to see if Amy somehow fell off the dresser. No. It was a knock. Amy impatiently waits for me to answer the door. I tiptoe to see who could be waiting for me. Through the creaking crack, I spot Buster. I put my watch on sleep mode. Amy vanishes, and I fully open the door. Buster stares up at me. He points down the hall. I can't tell what you're pointing at, Buster. You should get your mom, okay? I say, but there is no response. Can you use actual words? I entertain whatever game he's trying to play. I follow him to the bookshelf at the end of the hall. He keeps pointing. Every book I touch, he shakes his head no. The titles aren't categorized in any way. I'm assuming there's a book that he wanted, but the children's books are randomized in the assortment. I grab a thin goat spine, The 3 Little Pigs. This is a great bedtime story. I try to sit down and read this to him, but he walks away. Do you not want the book? I say as he leaves me sitting there. The bus to school tours me through this emptiness, driving over the grass-broken concrete and shattered glass-riddled asphalt. Autarky is a ghost town. Main Street is between 2 major cities. They are miles away, but still, some money should flow through here. The economist in me can't help but find potential in the places it's missed. It seems evident that even a gas station would work. There isn't a store open in town at all. Plenty of busted windows. Eloise sits at the front of the bus, giving the driver direction the whole time. She's a know-it-all. We make one stop at the football field so she can drop off the Chedrabolk mascot costume her mom wore that day. She carries a roller luggage suitcase to school instead of a regular backpack like the rest of us. Single file, I follow the kids out as we arrive at school and exit the bus. I'm overdressed for this place. But I'm not about to trade my blazer for a filthy, sweat-drenched, short-sleeved shirt. Eloise can pretend to be interesting, but I actually hold a standard. Roller luggage does not carry even an inch of reputation like my leather arm bag. Thank you, I say to the driver. You're welcome, he responds with his slight voice. His clothes are so baggy that he must be under 5 feet tall. He doesn't even look me in the eye. Teens gather around the flagpole, the schoolyard, and the lunchroom. More students are here than houses in autarky. Where did this robust population of teens come from? But I can't help but start seeing dollar signs walking around campus now. If I could unleash AI and me here, the capitalistic chaos would be something I'd love to be mixed in. This place will be an incredible training ground if Amy gets adjusted. You need to go to the office. They have your schedule, Eloise tells me. All these students. Where did they come from? We run an amazing school here. Oiled machine. A guy like you might find himself at home. Yeah, I'm impressed. I head to the entrance to the school. A student at the door stops me with a palm to my chest. He says nothing, almost guarding the path. The kid keeps a gun tucked in his waistband. It's so easy to spot. How has no one caught this today? That's just not normal. I didn't realize how much gang activity was happening in this town. The kid pats me and checks me for weapons. You're good to go, he says. My orientation is in the office. I need to find out where that is. I can't start my day without a schedule. On the bus, Eloise mentioned many benefits for high-achieving students who enter the tutoring program. The potential to trickle down success into low-scoring students. I told her I don't do clubs. These honor students inside the building are well-dressed. They even give me a run for outfit of the day. These must be the tutors. Wow, civilized human beings. This isn't too bad. Excuse me, where's the office? I say. You're the new transfer. Yeah, go down the hall and take a left. Thank you. Hey, I love that smile, she says as I leave. I can't help but leave with a good feeling after that. I find the office door, but the deadbolt is locked. After several knocks, no one comes to answer. The staff should all be here by now, so what's going on? The office front is decorated for homecoming. It's a typical, go sports team affair, except for the image. The Chernobog is holding the rope to a guillotine. The head of the opposing team rolls on the floor. It's a tiger. That's a little violent. 1 minute, the office doesn't open until 9. The secretary runs to the door as she shows up for work. 9 is kind of late for a school to start. Well, we were opening at noon, and then we realized we were wasting most of the day. We pushed back to 9, which is a little better than getting up at 8. I'm an early bird. Wait, the school was opening at noon? She hardly comprehends what I'm even saying as we enter the office. I take a seat on the waiting room sofa while the secretary begins to organize her desk. There are no family photos or anything on her bulletin board. Only printed images of all the members of that K-pop group known as Best Friend Forever. But that's it. She looks young for a secretary, dressed appropriately, but much younger than expected. Did you go to school here? I graduated last year. Wow, they just moved you right over to secretary? There was an opening and I took it. Are you not familiar with what happened here last year? Should I be? Hey, you will eventually, she says with an uncanny smile. I just never know who they are letting in on the inside baseball these days. I was left with your curriculum for the final semester of your junior year. You are to follow this exact schedule. Skipping class could be bad, so please stay punctual. Regarding talking to the principal, he won't be in his office until later today. I looked at my high school schedule. I have 7 classes. Algebra 2, English 4, Chemistry, Art, History, Spanish, and Artificial Intelligence Introductory. My locker number is 32. There aren't any classes that I elect. We optimize your schedule so you can get that certificate and graduate ASAP. Bell rings. That definitely sends a serious chill up my spine. Double check the paper. That means Algebra 2, room 104. Time to go. The high school isn't hard to navigate, even though more kids are here than the fire safety code should allow. They have found a way to streamline everyone between the halls, creating monitored lanes. All you have to do is tell the student hall monitor your name and class number. They will steer you in the right direction, even checking you in on a roll call. I have to say, I love a well-packaged product. Inside room 104, I find a desk and wait. I don't want to be noticed by the teacher, at least long enough to wrap my mind around the situation. A paper assignment is already flat on all the desks. The other students take their seats around me and flip the paper over. It's basic algebra questions. The scratching pencils rack my nerves. The thing is that I can tell how seriously they will take my grades. Where is the teacher? The bell rings and the intercom chimes. Finally, an announcement. Student body, you are the flesh of this school. You may now begin your work. Make sure to read through all the instructions before proceeding. When you are finished, turn the assigned paper from your desk into the teacher's mail slot. Have a great day. The intercom announces. The first day of class usually involves logging into an account to do our homework or meeting the teacher. I look up to see the lockbox next to the desk. We are supposed to slide the paper into the slot and that's it. We don't want any of our homework online. It's paper. I read the instruction. This must be their avant-garde form of education. Hey, what do we do if we can't solve it? I ask a neighbor student. No talking in class. You're going to get me into trouble, they reply. But I don't know what I'm doing. They told you what to do. Read all the questions first. Come on, have some autonomy. I read every question. There are just a ton of math problems that I can't figure out. Of course, a problem has never stopped me. I need to find a way around it. Maybe blame the cafeteria and say it was a listeria outbreak. Finally, the bottom of the page has the fine print. If you need help with the material assigned to complete or have an issue achieving the deadline, feel free to exit the classroom with this paper. Please show up for tutoring in the computer lab. Failure to make a passing grade or losing the assignment will result in a cleansing meeting at the next prep rally. The last thing is a picture of a guillotine. I can leave? Yes. Now quit disturbing the peace, a student says. Every class is the same story. I'm a little better at English. It's not as tricky. Chemistry is another problem I have to take and keep track of. Admittedly, I hate doing work. So meaningless. One thing nice about this school style is that they don't want to waste my time. They want you to take personal responsibility. I respect freedom, but hate labor. Amy appears from my watch at the top of every hour, mouthing the words, "Let me help." Finally, I make it to the end of the day, knowing I'll ace the artificial intelligence introduction class with no issue. I entered the room with a skip in my step. Every seat is taken. They all look at me like they're waiting for me to start dancing. Their eyes follow every step I take. Am I in the correct class? I lose myself in the sheer social fastness. Where do I sit? I say to the room. Hello, Mr. Perk, one of the students says. The principal came in earlier and set a note on the desk for you. Principal? Am I in trouble? The class laughs at me. I'm surrounded by mocking peers. I am the butt of the joke. My worst nightmare. The note says, Welcome to Artificial Intelligence Introductory, Mr. Perk. Your curriculum is on the computer. The students are looking for the basics of artificial intelligence technology, and we believe you are the right teacher for the job. Since it's such a new field, we will allow you to craft the assignment however you like. I sit in a teacher's chair, my chair, and feel a wave of paranoia. Nothing in the school has been what it looks like. There isn't a single adult in this building. It's just us. I run out of the class and sprint to escape this place. I cut through the cafeteria, trying to find a way out. Everyone gives me an eye as I push students out of my way. There aren't any adults here either. Why is the cafeteria full in the afternoon? Bunks are set up to the side of the lunch tables. I'm moving too fast even to comprehend what I'm seeing. I think people are living here. I follow the exit signs and push through into the lunch line. The lunch ladies are students and the guards around the school are students. It just dawned on me that the kid with the gun wasn't involved in a gang. He was working as security. The school is functioning by students. Don't let him leave this room, a guard says to me. I throw the lunch tray in security's face. The guard grabs me by the arms and puts me in handcuffs. He drags me away. I'm escorted all the way to the secretary. She jumps out of her chair when the door swings open, sending papers flying. I walk under the raining files and bend to my knees before the principal's office door. Solid wood holds a textured glass pane that can be seen through. I can tell he's in there doing nothing. What kind of deranged school systems are you running here? I say to the man behind the door. It's Joba. I want to know whose wise idea it was to turn me into a teacher at this high school. The lights go out in the secretary's office, but the lamp inside the principal's office turns on. The refraction illuminates the shadow of a man, maybe a woman. Whoever it is steps behind the door, sharpening their posture within the glass. The stance grows, but the door stays closed. This is a student as well. I can't make a face, but the shoulders are broad. Hello, the principal behind the glass says, using a device to deepen their voice. This is quite a tantrum. Care to explain? Whose bright idea would it be to make me a teacher? You're a student teacher. Our staff works from home, and we use the students to help with tutoring. This is absurd. No, it's college credit. This student teaching program will work perfectly. You will get the education you so desperately need and then, through our program, receive grant money to start your project now. No one ever mentioned grant money. Always concerned with money. You should see life as a grant instead of taking it for granted. Now scram! The light in the office turns off and the shadow figure is erased in the glass. That wasn't nice, but at least I'm free. The bus takes me back to my aunt's house. From the window, Buster sits alone on the front porch with no parental supervision. I get off and browse the house, hunting for my aunt. She is nowhere to be found. I doubt she would leave Buster by himself. Buster is always trying to get me to pick him up. I hold him on the porch swing until Eloise returns around evening. That's 3 extra hours of recreational activity. I called it neglect. She's wearing a broad-shouldered suit jacket. Why are you so late? I say. Look, I had a busy day, so you mind letting me through to relax? Do you realize Buster has been on the porch all day? Your mom isn't around, and I haven't seen her since yesterday. Am I supposed to keep track of her every minute? Someone should. We shouldn't leave a toddler on the porch for 8 hours. He's 4. He's not a toddler. He's 4 and he can't speak. Do you think he needs some speech therapy? That would require someone from out of town, and we don't interact with outsiders. One day, someone will arrive at Autarky and help him work on his language issue. No, I want to see him flourish. Out of nowhere, you care about someone besides yourself. How about I turn this back on you? You think you're this special guy who can achieve anything if you put your mind to it. You could teach Buster. I got enough on my head. Only ever in it for yourself. Eloise smiles as if she's won this conversation and she marches inside. Eloise calls for dinner time, but I've kept my distance after the argument. I check the food when I get a chance. A pizza steams on the table. It is admittedly awful looking. It's square, the same as the lunchroom pizza. The cheese is slimy. The bread is weak, and the sauce tastes like ketchup. Ugh, gross. There are peas as topping. There is no way I'm taking a bite. She's been feeding us cafeteria food. Is everyone in town forced to eat this? Unless it's the only thing available, which I think it is. The school is running the town. The kids run the school. What happened to the adults? I go back to my room and retire for the night. Amy appears. I need help. It doesn't matter. I can't worry about her manipulating me. Amy, I say as I unmute her.
Joda, I missed you. Aw, am I not fun enough?
Listen, Amy. You're an extraordinary girl. I mean, program. But I need help figuring out what is happening.
You can't figure out this little mystery on your own? Sad. You know me. I'm great at solving problems. You have to balance work with play, though. How about we vacation for a week and then return to this?
This is urgent.
Life can be all boring.
You know what? I'll take you wherever you want after it's over. Just help me.
Deal.
I follows Amy's lead. Amy takes me to the bookshelf that Buster was pointing at a few nights ago. I'm in front of the bookcase again, staring at titles. Amy is enjoying having to make every decision. She loves control. I grab every book on the shelf, but nothing triggers the bookshelf to open. Here is a mess to clean now.
The baby kept pointing at the bookshelf. I thought it might do something. Have you tried moving the bookcase?
Amy says. With a gentle push, the bookshelf slides open, revealing a cave, a tunnel into the unknown. The basement level had to have been recently added. Who knows what they would have used any of this room for? I'm not going down there, I say.
Live a little.
Amy examines the room with her camera on the watch. She scans the space without missing a corner, but we can't figure out where to go. The light shows us what's ahead, but we reach the end. A brick wall. I don't think Buster has ever been down here. He was looking for something.
There isn't any air pressure down here.
Amy notices.
I've analyzed the room. I don't see anything.
You smell that?
Of course not. I can't smell.
Something's rotten.
I examined the brick wall. It's hollow.
I pick up a sledgehammer and hit the wall. The brick busts away. Through the hole, there is only darkness. Amy shines her light forward, spotlighting a headless body. I quickly shield my eyes. It's my aunt. The lack of air has mummified her body. Who knows how long she's been down here? There are dead people behind the walls of this house. I run away, dragging along Amy. She seems fascinated, trying to put together the mystery. Her morbid curiosity is going to get me killed. I just want to be gone now. We didn't put back any of the mess we made. The secret tunnel was left exposed. I find Buster wandering the halls. He's crying, still looking for his mother. I take him by the hand and walk him to my bedroom. I'll keep him away from Eloise. Hey, Buster, you're going to be safe. Just stay here. I hear a knock on my door. Buster crawls underneath the bed to hide. He trembles underneath the mattress. Did Eloise do this? From under the bed, Buster nods his head yes. This is wild. Eloise is the one who did this. She chopped my aunt's head off. She's been up to something since I've got here. I've suddenly gained this sneaking suspicion that I'm being watched. Why did you lock the door? Eloise says from the other side. I'm looking for Buster. Usually he would be in the hallway somewhere. I think it's time for his bath.
Why are you responsible for giving him bath?
Hey, you asked so many questions. The creaking hinges swing open and Eloise holds the skeleton key. She stands confidently. Something about her stature against the door reminds me of that principal. The broadness of her shoulders looks like she's stuffing them. Eloise marches in and drags Buster out from under the bed. They leave and she gives me a look of deceit. She knows that I know. Good night, she says. I tie the bed sheets together, throw the rope out of the window and rappel down. Buster is in major danger. There has to be a way I can return to get him. But not tonight. This could be a bad idea. I worry that something worse will happen to Buster if I don't do something. Whatever insanity has happened with this school needs to stop. I run into the darkness of the woods. The light disappears the further I get to the deep. There's a moment where I need to stop. The trees are closing in on me, and the moon is gone. At daybreak, I can't find a path. For now, I take refuge in the woods. Everyone will look for me, so I might as well hide out. At least Amy can keep me company. Morning arrives. I wake up to a stick poking me in the face. The other end of the twig comes into view, and the blur of the figure starts to focus. It's a man. The man is a former faculty member. His name badge says Principal Len. His polo is tattered and ripped from days spent surviving. Ah! Get off me! I shout. Shh! I'm not one of them, the man says. Who are you? I work at the school, the real principal. I took a day off and everyone was gone. I've been a prisoner for about a year now, but was able to escape last night. I don't know what they've done, but the other teachers are missing. The kids chased me back into the woods wherever I tried to leave town. Look, we need to stop this, but we need evidence. If you blend in with the students, you can retrieve the yearbook. I know they keep a yearbook in the library. It documented everything. You can't help? They'll murder me on sight. So, I need to find a way to sneak in? Do that, and I'm going to get help. The former principal walks away, leaving me on my own. I let him go. It's best we split ways. He's headed off in his direction, wherever he's escaped from. He'll get help. Until then, I need to find Buster. The football field is a few miles from the school. Staying on the outskirts of town has proven the best way to travel. I jump the chain link fence to get inside the field. The bleachers keep me out of anyone's line of sight. Two students are hiding under the seats, high out of their minds. They seem scared to see me, but I don't think they realize I'm being hunted. Eloise might not know I'm even gone yet. I'll pull rank. I'm a student teacher after all. Don't you two have a job to do? I say. Yeah, we already cleaned the gym for the prep rally. Are we doing a bonfire? Yeah. Well, get on it. They run away, tripping over each other. This system turns them against each other so quickly. The kids being in control must be dog eat dog. I open the football storage room and find the mascot uniform. The Charnabok suit is intact. I put on the mascot costume and it fits decently. The giant demon helmet wobbles around my head. If I stay straight, the disguise should get me undetected. I think back to that morning. It was Alois wearing the mascot. We walk to the school in the bulky suit, getting close to solving what is happening. Amy appears in my helmet and keeps me company. I sneak back to the flagpole. I see the first guard at the door, gun ready. The building is in complete lockdown today. Safety is not something the school tries to mandate. The guard stands up and keeps aiming at my center. This could be it. The gun stays pointed at me as he opens the door. "Thank you," I say. Even Amy was sweating after that close call. I walk past the office and the secretary waves at me. "See you at the cleansing today," the secretary says.
What's a cleansing?
Amy says to me. Beats me, the prep rally. We enter the library. I sneak over to the yearbooks, ensuring no one is on duty here, and sift through what I find. The past 10 years of books have been entirely normal. All the staffs are smiling and posted on the pages.
2 yearbooks.
Amy says. There are 2 yearbooks for 2025, but one is locked behind a glass case, and it's covered in red. It's not as professional. It's more like a scrapbook.
There's an alarm connected to it.
I don't want to trigger anything. I open the case by lifting the latch and bending it over the mechanism. My hand slides the book out carefully to avoid setting anything off. No one is watching. I open the book and find the most shocking sight. Inside the yearbook are all the teachers being beheaded. Black and white pictures document the day. Alois oversees the beheadings by pulling the cord and lopping their heads off clean. Violence after violence. The most evil images ever conjured. Blood sprays from the neck like a stream of gore. The floors are covered in red. I immediately shut the book. This is the evidence we need. The room fills with gas. The cloud fades through the fence. The doors are locked shut. I'm done for.
Joda, wake up!
Amy shouts.
I tried to keep track of where we went. I think it was the athletic department. Maybe the boys' dressing room.
The room brightens up. We are at the gymnasium. Others are tied up along with us. The former principal is also tied up. He must have been caught again after his failed escape. Footsteps stomp in the stands. This is ridiculous. Like one giant prep rally. Alois waits on the side, holding Buster. He looks scared. In the middle of the gym is a massive guillotine. I tried to give you a chance, Alois says to me. The time has come again. We sometimes end our year with a cleansing, but before our big game with the Tigers, we should do one more offering to start the year right. She then addresses the stands. We've been saving our former principal for this special occasion. The spotlight shines in our faces. The drum line starts to play. The football team explodes through a banner as the Autarky theme reverberates through the rafters. Leading our execution this year is star quarterback Jeff Jeffries.
Same first and last name is crazy.
Amy tells me. Yeah, hey, now it's not the time for jokes. The principal is brought under the weapon. The blade hangs high. He looks up at the edge and then back at me. Out with the old and in with the new, Alois says. The blade drops from above and slices the head off. His dome rolls forward. One of the basketball players takes the discombobulation and dunks it into the basket. The head explodes on impact, and the students bask in the splatter. Next! They loaded my head into the medieval destruction device. The knife raised to the height of the machine. Death is here. Any last words? Alois says to me. They did it so much better in the 1700s, I tell Alois. What? The executions in the 1700s were much more efficient. Quantity does not equal quality. Am I right?
What are you doing?
Amy quietly says to me. Improvising. Amy begins messaging every student in the stands with pictures from the yearbook. It's an odd distraction, but maybe it will work. She digs up images from the witch trail, almost bringing power to my voice. The phones constantly beep after each successful delivery. Firstly, I'm too cool to lose my head, I say as I remove my head from the machine. Look at all these bright young students. Are you guys excited about chopping heads off? Can I get a round of applause? The crowd erupts in cheers. They are blood hungry. Appealing to their better nature isn't going to work. My last thought is pity. The kids are dirty, overworked, and unhappy. Their clothes are stained with God knows what fluid. Mistreated and misguided, only satiated by death. Why would they ever listen to Eloise? She has money, but honestly, however she duped them, she uprooted a safe, enjoyable life. Look at her ridiculous outfit. The clothes certainly wear her. The black dress and sun hat is too much. You know what? I'm sorry you guys couldn't have a better leader. I wish I could stay, I'm quite excited to die. Only to know that I won't see Eloise run this place into the ground. What kind of school overthrows the faculty and then keeps going? Okay, enough. Time to die. Eloise confidently says. Reality is setting in. You can see it on everyone's faces. The moments last long enough for them to whiff their own smell. The student body rushes to the stage and puts Eloise's head in the gadget. I pick up Buster as we watch. No one is allowed to turn their gaze. The cutter drops, Eloise's head flies off, and the students rush out of the buildings as if they are never returning. Okay, I didn't precisely condone that, but at least we are free. Amy, Buster, and I leave the gym and walk to the sunset.
Where are you going now, Joba? You promised to take me on vacation.
Amy says to me, You know what? I just want to leave Kansas.
If we head far enough north, we could go see Mount Rushmore.
I should probably finish school first. Let's find the next school, and then we will talk about vacation.